Hey guys, welcome to Sweet Talk. I'm your host KP, and I was so excited for this episode today. As you read by the title, this one is about mental health behind the chair. Things we don't hear about, and we don't, clients don't really see behind the chair, and that a lot of stylists deal with. And as stylists, we are technically like unlicensed therapists, but we take on a lot. And I just wanted to talk about how we incorporate that, but also when you're called to this ministry, because that's what this really is, how you take that to God. And I know for me personally, I have dealt with mental health. I think a lot of us in 2020. And then even last year, I found myself dealing with a lot mentally. So with that being said, I would like to introduce my guest. This is Jess, and she is actually one of my clients, also one of my mom friends. And this is not out of the norm for us to talk like this anyway. Like we picking up voice messages all the time. Like we talk like this a lot, so it gets really deep. So Jess, how are you doing today?
I am doing pretty well. I'm really excited to be here and to talk about this. This is really important to talk about.
So can you explain what type of therapist you are? Because I ain't want to mess that up.
Well, my degree is in marriage and family therapy, but I do an array. I guess, is that the word?
Yes.
But I've seen as young as 3-year-olds to as old as 95-year-olds. So it really just depends. And they often present with different issues. Somebody might come in for anxiety or depression, but really underneath that is trauma. We don't know where that started. And kind of just gauge it by that. People will inquire based on whatever they're experiencing, and then I'll see them. If it's beyond my scope, I'll let them know, hey, this is beyond my scope. Let me give you a referral. But yeah, I've seen all types of people for many different things. So
that's good. And I think this was your lane in general, because you just so like intellectual. You really have a deep thinking about stuff. So what inspired you to go into that field?
I would say originally it was because of like coming from a broken home, and kind of seeing what that does to families and to the Black community, for sure. So I would say that was what initially stemmed it. But after going through the program and learning about different things, learning why people do what they do, I found that it was much deeper than that. And so I'll say what continues to push me is really helping people find their own light. Like a lot of us, we just don't know that we have everything we need. Like to feel better or to do better. But just helping people find those tools that's already in us. And yes, coming from broken homes, having trauma and stuff like that, it is important, and it does impact us. But at some point, when we realize that we do have the tools, we can navigate it.
Like we decide what you're gonna do with it.
Right.
Because a lot of us will hold on to it, and that's our crutch for the rest of our lives. And it's not, you don't have to be in a product of your environment at all. So, and I think mental health is good because we didn't grow up with it at all. It was always told it was only for a certain type of people. Like it's not, nothing's wrong with you. So I think I'm so glad that it came a big thing for people, and that it's okay for people to like finally say like, okay, I'm not okay. So I know that she's not a stylist, y'all. Like I'm promised the stylist parts are coming. But I just wanted to highlight this because, like I said, we as stylists take on a lot. And I, like, personally in 2020, of course, with COVID, on top of that, I lost my mom in 2020. So having to be behind a chair after a loss, after, becoming a new mom, and all of those things, and all of the other things that, kind of pile on the stylist's back, like trying to balance life and work-life balance and stuff like that. And this isn't to say that we don't want our clients to come in and say, like, tell us their problems, because you know, like we're called to this. This is a ministry. Like we're called to do this. So we're equipped to do this. Like you just said, like we're equipped for this. So my first question is, from your perspective, why do you think stylists become a safe space for clients?
I would say because, and this is just my thinking, it's a vulnerable space. You know, the way I look at it, I'm not going to just let anybody touch my hair.
Yes.
I don't know. That's how it's brought up. But it is a vulnerable space. You're coming in and, you know, your hair is wet, or your hair, you feel like you look a mess. Somebody's building you up. You're opening up. Both parties are opening up, really. Like I'm opening up my vulnerability to you, and it's just, you know, you're taking care of somebody.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're nurturing somebody. So I think it just naturally opens that space. Like, and then for me, I'm like, oh, this is my girl. Like, I want to come in and I want to tell her.
Yeah.
Or you just find like a common ground. Usually, you know, I think y'all naturally have that. You know, so what have you been up to? Or what do you do? Like, and things like that. I think it just opens up a space for people.
It does. And I think there's been times where even we get to know clients, and I don't be wanting to feel like I'm trauma dumping. But sometimes when we get to talking, you know, I share some of my issues or things like that, but I also had to pay attention because a lot of people come in and they're coming in to relax and decompress and just let it all loose and let it out. And so, like you said, it's a vulnerable place to be for clients to come in. And in my space, you know, with it being like just a more private salon, like it's more comfortable and people feel like they can share stuff with you. So I said that to say too, how when we're being told all of this stuff and how it's burdening, how do you know, going about giving it to God, because we can't carry it at all. Right. So what would you tell like clients that, you know, feel like burdened by things of that nature?
I would say, so it definitely depends on how you look at like your relationship with God. And everybody's different. I know I invite them to every space that I'm in. So I'm like, hey, I need your help. So 2 things. I think, yes, invite it to God and give it to Him and ask Him to be with you. I'm sure you pray before your clients, you know, pray while, like, hey, help me figure out how to navigate this.
Right.
This is your child.
Yeah.
Step in.
Yes.
Invite them into the room. And as a therapist, a lot of my clients aren't believers. A lot of my clients aren't Christian.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that, you know, I don't invite him into the room.
Right.
I will always invite him in. Hey, this is your person. They're coming with things that you already know about.
Yeah.
Show me how to navigate this.
Yeah.
And this actually sparks like an idea for me. I'm like, man, part of our training should be part of you guys' training.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of our training involves what to do with that. What do you do with the weight that people bring in when you're already dealing with your own weight?
Yeah. I've always wondered, do therapists have a therapist, and does that therapist have a therapist? How does that work?
If you went to a good program, or if they went to a good program, they have one.
Okay.
Most programs make it a requirement that you have one.
Okay.
At least at my program we did. And you should. Like if it's a lot, especially depending on what specialty you're in. Yeah. And things like that. You can hear so many different things. And it doesn't even have to be deep traumatic things that trigger you. It could be something you hadn't thought about in 20 years. Wow. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, yes, having a therapist is definitely important.
It is, because, I mean, you think about, I couldn't imagine kids or like the things that they have that they haven't even began to grow up yet. So you know, you're a mom, so I'm sure you like carry that like weight of like, oh my gosh, like this is a lot for this child or whatever the case is. So yeah, that's how I always looked at it with being a stylist. We hear stories, and like you're right, like I have people talk, as soon as they start talking, I'm like, God, okay, they're sharing something with me. I need you to help me. Give me what to say, because I want them to, you know, be able to, I want to be able to, for them to see through you. But I know there's been a time where, with the stigma of being in the salons, like gossiping and stuff like that, and I got slapped on the back of the neck with that one time with the sandal.
Because why you do it?
He will. Like, he'll get you together. He's like, this is not what we're supposed to be doing with that information. And so, and that's, you know, I'm glad he did that, because he called me to this space to be able to be that safe space for people. So when I understood that, I was like, okay, like, I need to learn how to take this to you, not to this person, that person. Like, I need to learn how to, you know, pray for these people and give it to you and not have it on me. And I've enjoyed hearing, you know, when I pray for people or whatever it is that has happened with them, they come back and they give a report of how he did something for them. So it's really rewarding. As much as it feels like it may be a burden, but it is really rewarding to be able to be a part of people's lives like that, because not everybody's vulnerable like that, and not everybody wants to share information and things of that nature. So my next question is, what kind of emotional impact can that have on a stylist? I know it's kind of like you're not a stylist, but as in your career, or how would you see that like affecting stylists?
The burdens, like carrying every aspect of your life. I don't think people in general understand the emotional impact on carrying on burdens. You see it in families all the time. And just not knowing where to put it. You don't know where to put it, and you take it on as yours. I think the biggest piece in that, especially, and I can speak from a therapist's viewpoint, we work really, really hard to filter. And I believe I've spoken with you about it before, but it's like, think of like a water filter. You know, it's filtering out the weight, the bad, whatever you don't need, and giving you, you know, what you do need. It's like a constant, like, okay, this is their stuff, this is not my stuff. This is their stuff. And at the same time, being fully present, showing them that you're hearing them and that you care about them. And also, like, okay, this is not mine to carry. I guess that is kind of how I give it to God. Like, man, they're having a really hard time. Show me how to be here for them and help them carry this. But also remember that it's not mine to carry. You know what I mean? But yeah, I would say it's kind of just like a filter that I use. But the impact can definitely be detrimental, especially if you have family and you take it at home, and you may not even, this is a thing, you may not even know that that's what it is. You know, you may feel physically tired, you may feel spiritually tired, you may feel that weight in other ways, you may get sick, it manifests
in a lot of ways, and that's so true that you say that, because, you know, being that kind of goes into, you know, one of the other things I was going to say was burnout and work-life balance of being stylist, mom, wife, business owner, friend. Like, you have to show up in so many areas to the point where you just don't want to show up. like I last year, and I like I said, last year was a mental battle for me, and so I probably wasn't the best person as far as like friendships or whatever, trying to show up everywhere and also show up behind the chair too, because whatever you're going through at home, like, or whatever you're going through just within yourself, like, you have to still show up for these people. You have to, because I'm very big on, I don't want people to come in like feeling like, oh, she don't act like she want to do my hair. Like, what's wrong with her? She got an attitude and snatching your hair, you know? Like, I don't want people like that, and I don't want to be that person. So that's why, you know, I guess what would you suggest to stylists to do, or people that are experiencing burnout, experiencing overwhelm, like behaviors and stuff like that? Like, what, as a therapist, do you recommend for people to do when that happens?
Obviously, I would say go to therapy. Mm-hmm. I would recommend that first. Mm-hmm. If it's not something that, you know, someone's comfortable with doing or trying out, I would suggest talking to other stylists. Yeah. So we do something that's called like consultation. So like if I have something going on with a client or something, I can phone another therapist and we can talk about it and, you know, talk through it, I guess. Yeah. But another thing that comes to my mind, I heard I think it was Shonda Rhimes, and she was like talking about how if you see her in one area, then she's not showing up 100% in another area. Oh yeah. And I took that and I was like, man, this is real, because if you see me showing up somewhere, something else is about 30%. And I've come to like just some form of acceptance of like, okay, how are you doing today? My best. Yes. Yeah.
Like, it's just being real. Like, I'm not okay today. And like, that's such a good example, because you can't be 100% in every area. It's impossible.
And the more you add on to, the more responsibility you add on to your plate, the more you see it. And I know that that's got to be difficult for you too, because showing up, here is your livelihood. Yes. Like, this has to pay my bills. Yes. Like, I have to perform. I have to, you know what I mean?
And I watched a stylist on Instagram one time, and her caption said stylists are fake, but the rest of it wasn't like what you would think it is. And she was going deeper into like how we have to show up and present ourselves and perform in this way, because we don't want, at the end of the day, this is our job, but we're also the stylist, we're also the marketer, we're the finance person, we're the assistant, we're the scheduler, like, and on top of everything else. So, you know, coming into being a stylist, you know, I didn't think of all of that. And as I've gotten further into it, you know, I enjoy it, but there are days I'm like, I just need a break, you know. Like Kyron, so a lot of times I'll go home like, I don't think I want to do this no more. He's like, what you gonna do then? What else you gonna do? Because we can't be doing all, cut it out. But, you know, he's super supportive, of course, but he just like, I need you to get it together. Like, you need a break, what you need to do. So it just really, you know, burnout is so real in this industry. And I also think, I can't leave out to say that social media has a lot to do with it too. Yeah. Because we feel like now you got to be a content creator on top of all of the other stuff that you've already done. Now I got to take pictures and all of this and come up with ideas. So it can be a lot. Yeah. And just trying to balance it all. I don't know that this conversation is ever like a thing. And like you said, it's good to have stylist friends. I have a few that I talk to, and they can understand it on a better aspect, as far as like they understand it better than like a client probably would. Right. So that's so good.
Yeah. I was gonna add too that, man, my mind just went blank. I was gonna add too, like, compartmentalizing is not easy when like your job is a calling, because you're having to use so much. It's a creative space for you. Yeah. So it's something that you enjoy. Right. And it's something that like, okay, now I've made a commitment, I have to do it. Yeah. You know, I look at it like it's an art. It's one of those like creative careers where you're pouring in your talent into something. You know, it's not to shade any other type of job, but when you show up and you clock in and you do the job that's been assigned for you to do, right? That's a total different energy than like pulling from every part of you to do your job.
That's true.
And I think that's why it's easier to get to burnout in these types of fields than there is,
just like
a normal job where you're just like, oh, I'm gonna come in and stack these shelves.
Yeah.
And then that's it. I'm going home.
Yeah. I mean, because I agree. I feel like we are very creative people. Yeah. And when you get into entrepreneurship, just in general, you have to figure out ways to stay creative and on top of your stuff and stay relevant. And so I've seen this where older stylists, they're not, I won't say older stylists, I say more seasoned stylists, but like they're not into all the tech and all of that stuff. Yeah. And so it's just, you kind of don't, in our era of the beauty industry, we don't want to be left behind, where people don't know who you are no more and stuff like that. So we're trying to stay relevant. Yeah. But and like you said, to me, when I say I don't want to do this no more, I feel like I'm telling God, like, God, this man, this too much. Why you call me to this? I feel like I'm telling him no. Yeah. And I'll realize he'll show me, like, you didn't really have an off day. Yeah. You went in on an off day, or you're trying to be so much, and you need me to be what you have to be for your business. And I was reading in a scripture the other day in Philippians, I think it was 2:13. I think it was 13. And it was just talking about how, he works through us for us to be able to live out what his purpose is to will in the earth. And I was like, we need him for everything. There's no way I could do this on my own strength. Yeah. And because clearly I can't do it.
Clearly, Lord, I'm tired. No, seriously. And that's so interesting that you bring that up, because a lot that I'll say my husband and I have to give him credit, because he literally called me yesterday and he was like, it's just not supposed to be easy. Like, we can't ever just get to a point where we think that we have it hard, when Jesus literally had the hardest that you can have it. And to think that we won't endure. And he's talking about how we have our own cross to bear.
That's so good.
You know, like, he got up and he physically demonstrated, and we have a cross of our own. And a lot of times we leave that out of the fruit. And a lot of times when you said that, like, I don't want to do this. You know what I mean? It reminds me of that, because I feel like when I say something like that to him, he's like, did you think this was going to be easy? Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Actually, can I borrow some of your strength?
Yes, I need it today.
Please.
Yes. And I think about, too, even he was like, God, can you take this cup from me? Literally. So he understands, like, we gonna go through this stuff. He's been through it. We just gotta understand that we have to pull from his strength, because we won't be able to do it. And like your husband said, like, it's not supposed to be easy. I think that's where we mess up at. We want it to be easy. We want it to be where, like, just coast through. But I'm sure you can agree, like, as becoming adults, and we think back on all the stuff we went through and all of the mental struggles we went through and how we came out of it, it's just like, okay, so I'm glad I went through that, because out of that I learned something from it. So when you always, like, remember what you did and how you came through and how he brought you through, like, it just bring you back to, like, okay, I gotta get through this, like, ain't no other way out.
Yes.
I gotta go through it.
One thing that I pull on him for more than anything, especially when I can remember too, and something that we're also taught, they call it, I don't know, self-care is like, it's a whole trendy thing now, but like, they do teach you that in a program when you're becoming a therapist. Self-care is important. But what I lean on him for is rest. I pull on him for rest because, and I'll even say, Lord, what does rest look like to you? Because if I've reached my max of, like, my effort that I need to put in on this, and you ready to step in, I'm ready to let go. I'll take a nap. What do you do? And I will physically sit down and I will imagine, like, once I close my eyes, he's gonna do his work. Like, I have to physically imagine it. it and see it.
Yeah.
And I have to remind myself, he rested.
Like, he did. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, all this stuff, that's so good. Like, what does rest look like? Because we live in a culture where it's no sleep game. Like,
I put the phones down. I'll put it down in a minute.
Yes. I am tired of hearing my phone go off. And I think I realize why, because the telemarketers too, like, they blow your phone up so much that when I'm answering the phone regularly, I sound irritated, but it's because my phone's been going off all day. But yeah, like, cutting our phones off. It's okay if you didn't clean up this room today.
Literally.
It can get done still. Yes. It's okay. You need to rest, because our minds are constantly going on what we need to do. How can we do this? Oh, I got to do this. I got to do that. And rest, it don't make sense.
Right.
It's like, okay, you telling me to rest, and I got stuff to do. I know every year, especially in the beauty industry, around like tax time, it's everybody's wanting their hair done, and majority of us are always like, okay, this is when people spending money. Like, let's go. Every year, I kid you not, God tell me to rest in that season. Every year. Yes. He's like, I don't care if somebody's saying they're going to pay you this much more to this, and that. You need to rest. And in the first year, I remember I was like, this don't make sense. Like, I need to be out here. Like, and it's like, but are you relying on your money or are you relying on me? Because which one is it? You can't do both. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. And every single time, he has always sustained me. And I remember another time where I was like, God, I need a break. Like, I want to take the last 2 weeks of the year off, and because it's my birthday, it's Christmas, it's New Year's, like, I want to take the last 2 weeks off, but I'm afraid to do that because when I don't work, I'm not making no money. And I know there's other avenues in the beauty industry, but at that time, I'm just doing hair, just servicing. That's how you making money. And I was so afraid to do that, but I trusted God. I was like, I'm just going to take 2 weeks off. I need it. And he took care of everything. I didn't have to worry about nothing. I came back like nothing was out of place. And so rest is so important. And even when you just have to literally trust God.
Yeah. I would argue it's the most important. But we leave it out so much that it's like, oh, this is what I'm missing. Because how else, the way I look at it, how else do you show him that you trust him if you don't take your hands off of it?
Oh, yeah. Because, like,
how can he get the glory? And, like you're saying, that verse in Philippians, like, it will bring you back to that. Like, all of it is for his glory. So if we're trying to control every aspect of everything, how can
he's like, well, where am I supposed to sit at in this car?
Like, we both can't drive. Right. No, seriously. Like, but rest, and it just comes down to, and I'm still learning this, just what do you want to prioritize?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whatever you prioritize, it's going to take over.
Yep.
And sometimes our business have to lack for us to show up at home, or our business have to lack for it to do better. It has for it to grow.
Right.
And things like that. But yeah, rest.
Yeah. And
it's a hard one.
I even think about the scripture, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. So prioritizing, if we ain't prioritizing him first, then everything else is gonna seem like we trying to do everything, and if we got our hands on it. So that just made me think of that scripture just then.
And he knows how hard that is for us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he knows how hard it is for us to seek him first.
Right.
That's why it feels so hard when we don't know, like, well, what? I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Well, what are you not doing?
Right. So fun fact about us, we had our kids around the same time.
Yes.
So, like, I remember going through the first year, our first child, and we, like, trying to be new moms, like, this all new to us. And so I was thankful to have, like, a supportive person to go through that with. And I remember, like, at one time, I think I was talking to my pastor, and we were just talking about, like, how I was like, well, I want to spend time with God, but I'm a new mom. Like, she's like, you don't think you know you're a new mom? so like still a baby in Christ. So I'm just thinking like, okay, you want me to do this first? But then like she's like, we make it hard. And she's like, you don't think he don't know you're a mom? And I was like, dang, that's right. But it showed me like, that means like seeking him first, maybe not meaning you sitting down with the Bible 5 o'clock in the morning, praying, all this stuff. Like it could be listening to worship while you cleaning up, watching, like feeding the baby, or being a mom is a ministry. Being married is a ministry. He gave us that to navigate. So it showed me like, okay, like I know that, you know, all of this, I've been able to get through this because I was really making it more than what it was. Yeah. So
just acknowledging him.
Yeah.
You know, I'm learning that too.
Yeah.
Because the way that we grow up in the idea of him that we're given, it's rarely ever our own experience of him. You know? Right. And I was talking about this too the other day, but like, just like you love your kids the same, obviously, but your kids are individual. They're most of the time they have individual needs. Yeah. It's the same with us. Yeah. Like, we have individual relationship with him. Right. And my relationship with him may not look like your relationship with him. Yeah. Does he show up and his character and everything is still the same? Same, yeah. He's constant the same. But who we are individually, he loves us individually. Right. Who we are. So we have to navigate it that way and not like, oh, I gotta do this, I gotta show up, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. In order for him to show up, like, no, you don't. Yeah. And I'm glad it's been made more simple. Yeah. So, I know we went off on tangent, y'all, but I'm telling y'all, this is how we talk all the time. It's like, it's normal for us. Yes, so. We have like 10 conversations going on. And you know, I love, like, we'll be on Instagram and it'd like be memes, but we got a whole like conversation on the phone. But also what I love is that we may not talk for like a long time, and then we'll just pick up like, hey girl, this is what the Lord showed me today. and then we just, you know, and so it's like being able to have that as like, you know, being friends and like not having to feel like, okay, that's another thing. I gotta make sure I'm keeping in touch. So it's just all like a balance. So the last thing I wanted to say, how would you, I guess we kind of have already said it, but like to a stylist from a mental health therapist, how would you tell them to prioritize like the burnout and things like that? I know you mentioned like going to see a therapist. Are there other ways that you would recommend like them to kind of navigate like feeling overwhelmed? I would start with like, in what other ways, what outlets do you have? Whether that's a hobby outside of doing, you know, whatever your services are. Go outside. Yeah. Get some vitamin D. Like the kids say, touch some grass, a good tree. Like we joke about that stuff, but it really is like, it will bring you back. It will ground you and give you what you need. Especially because we're inside all day, so that makes sense to get outside. And it's free. Yes, it's free. Like God gave you. You guys go outside. Yes. Yeah. Anything like that. Anything that's gonna relax you. And if you don't know, get to know yourself. Yeah. Get to know yourself outside of your productivity. Yeah. Yeah. Because like you said, the way that the world does move, we do find identity in productivity. And I think it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's, what is the word? It keeps you stagnant. That's not the word I'm looking for, but it does keep you stagnant. Yeah. When you are finding identity in that. I wish I could find the word. I know, but you know what I mean. Yes. Like we get lost in it, and that's who we in it. And you look up and you like, I don't even know. You know, I've been doing this for so long. Like, what do I even like to do? And we already know that comes after having kids too. So on top of that, like, we don't know what we like to do, and that's why, like, honestly, doing this podcast was that outlet for me. Like, what else can I do? Because I feel like
like I'm just kind of like, I love doing hair, I love doing what I do, but I feel like I'm just, that I don't know, like my mental health is off, I don't know. And so this was the first time I've been excited about something in a long time to do. And when I really like pour into it and just really, and I even asked God, like, God, I need something, like give me something. And he gave me this 2 years ago, to be honest. And I'm still asking, God, can you give me something? Like, I just need something. He's like, I already gave it to you.
Yes.
You're not moving. Yes. So it is so important. Yes. And like you said, getting outside, finding mental health, and just really not learning, like, it's okay to take a break.
Yes.
It's okay to take a rest. You don't have to, you know, I know Susie got her party this weekend for her birthday, and you really only want me to do it, but I'm sorry, I'm taking a rest.
I have to find somebody else.
Right.
I'm at capacity.
Right, I am. So where can, if anyone is looking for you, because I know you mentioned like you're doing virtual and in person. If anyone is looking for a therapist, where can they find you?
Yes, so I will be doing in person in Ackworth, Georgia.
Okay.
And I do have a Psychology Today profile, and it's just my name, Jessica Wright. Should be able to look me up on there. Or my email can email me at jessiekWright@outlook.com to inquire and go from there.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming today. This was fun. And thank y'all for tuning in to Sweet Talk. I hope this helps someone, especially my stylists out there who struggle with mental health behind a chair. And make sure you like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified. And we'll see you next episode. Bye.